Hello everyone, welcome back to Total Football Talk. Thanks for joining me this morning. We're going to look at all the latest news and transfer news that's flying out of United at the minute. As always, we just keep the news just keeps piling on. We'll look at the stories regarding Antony and where he could potentially be going. We'll be looking at some stories in regards to Luke Shaw, which we've not heard much about Luke Shaw. We've not talked about much about Luke Shaw. He's obviously kind of a topic of conversation at the minute. We'll look at a little bit of stuff about Garnacho. We'll look a little bit about what's happening with the Ollie Watkins deal and a few other bits and pieces as well. But we will jump in with the top story, and that's that Saudi Arabian, the Pro League, is starting to take an interest in Antony. I think they've always had an interest in Antony, but it's just whether Antony would be interested in going there. So this is the latest news that's coming out. Interest in Antony from Saudi Arabia is thought to be increasing, and Antony may be open to exploring the idea. Two clubs have already registered their interest, and that's coming from Sky Sports. So we know that Antony's really keen on a move back to Real Betis, and that is something that hasn't really changed much. He's holding out and hoping that he's going to get that move, and I believe that the only way Betis can do it is if he goes on a loan deal. And I think a loan deal for Antony isn't really what we need at the minute because of our situation where we still need a striker, we still need a goalkeeper, and we still need a midfielder. If we only get a loan deal for Antony at this particular stage, I think we're in trouble. I think we really need to be in a position where we can actually get some money in for him, even if he's just to clear his pay, book value of the books, and we can get rid of his wages. I think at this particular stage, that's more important than sending him back out on loan, because we're not really going to pick up much from that. And that means he's going to be coming back in 12 months' time to the club when they have to try and negotiate another deal for him. And we already know he's had a good year in La Liga. He had eight goals, 5 assists, or 9 goals, 5 assists, so something in and around that, which is a hell of a return for a player who's left the Premier League, gone to the La Liga in mid-January, and then had that opportunity to shine out there, which he did do. We know Atletico Madrid are also interested, but now it's can Manchester United kind of work a deal with Antony? As the report says, clubs from Saudi are interested. But I've got a funny feeling that Antony isn't going to want to go anywhere this year, particularly when he's on the fringes of getting back into the Brazil squad at the minute. I think he'll want to stay in Europe. I think he'll want to stay in the limelight of the European football to be able to get back into that Brazil squad for the 2026 World Cup, which is going to be an absolute bonanza out in America. And I think I'd be surprised if that wasn't his aim. So we'll have to wait and see if anything changes. And maybe the deals from Saudi Arabia could be tempting for him. But as I said, I've got a bad feeling that he's going to hold out and he's going to end up doing a Rashford and going back out on loan. And it may be a lot later in the transfer window, and we're not recouping any money from him, or maybe offsetting the wages slightly. But it won't be enough to help us force in another player that we desperately need, and a player that and we know that Antony's been good in terms of he does seem to want to play, but yeah, it's kind of a watching brief on this one. Let's just see where this one goes to. So this was what was being said about Alejandro Garnacho. Garnacho wants to stay in the Premier League and play in Champions League next season, with Manchester United looking to sell him. So that means he wants to join Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, or Arsenal. Can you see him going to any of these clubs? Get your thoughts in below. And if you haven't already, if you would love to subscribe to the channel, that would massively help me out. Thank you very much. Give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. And yeah, get your thoughts in on anything that I talk about today. What do you think about Antony and the Pro League? Do you think he's going to go there? And this Garnacho story. So the teams Garnacho could potentially go to that have Champions League football, for me, it's Spurs, really, because I mean, I'm not, and as I said before, I don't actually know how that progresses his career. Same as I said for Kobe. Chelsea, I don't think you're going to go for him now. They've got other opportunities they're looking at. Xavi Simons being one. He's never going to go to City. Arsenal, they don't need him. Liverpool are never going to look at him. Newcastle, I'd be surprised if they went for him. I mean, maybe if they lost Isaac, they'd be in the market for a forward, but I don't know if Garnacho would fit what that is they're looking for. Maybe that's an outside shout. Spurs is the most likely because they're a team that are still rebuilding under a new manager. And he, but again, for him, does he think he's at Spurs level? As in, does he think that, they finished below us in the league? So, I mean, he's not really making a massive leap forward. Oh, yes, he is getting Champions League football, but how well will Spurs do in the Champions League, especially with Thomas Frank, who hasn't got any Champions League experience? Could come in, could do well, but I think Spurs are still in a massive transitional period and have been for a long time, so I'm not entirely sure this would serve his career well at this stage. Newcastle slightly different. They are Champions League football and they have a bit more stability, but if they were to lose Isaac and they haven't got in the players that they want so far, could be an interesting one. So, yeah, I mean, the options are quite limited for Garnacho in terms of wanting to stay in the Premier League, wanting to play Champions League football. So I have no idea what's actually going to happen with this one. But we need to sell him because he's the pivotal point for us. Unless we bring in money through the sale of Garnacho, we can't move forward. We can't buy the midfielder we need. We can't buy the goalkeeper we need. We can't buy the striker we need. And those are three critical areas that Ruben Amorim has targeted and that we know he wants to strengthen between now and the end of the window. I don't think he's going to strengthen all three. I think we'll maybe strengthen one, possibly two at a push. I don't think we'll get all three. So, yeah. So that's the deal with Garnacho. And this was the news that was breaking about Ollie Watkins, and this was coming from the Secret Scout, but it's come from a few other accounts as well. And this is breaking. Manchester United officially made a move for Ollie Watkins. United prefer an experienced striker, as they have Rasmus, who can sort of back Ollie Watkins up. So Ollie Watkins, we know Fabrizio Romano talked about this on his channel, that Manchester United have made a move for him. But they're not prepared to pay the 60 million at the minute. They think that's too expensive. Sesko's also coming in around the 60 million pound marker. Manchester United, I think, do want experience. They do want Premier League proven experience. I talked about that yesterday. I think Manchester United are keen on the Ollie Watkins deal because he fits what Ruben Amorim's looking for in terms of a striker, but what he doesn't fit is the Ineos model, which is players under sort of 25 and below. He's 29, he'll be 30 in December. Will they want to give him a 3 to 4 year contract on big wages? I don't know. I don't know whether you're going to get 3 years. Maybe you'll get 3 good years out of Ollie Watkins, and then that'll be the end of him. So there's no resale value on him. So whatever you're paying for now is what you get, and you're not going to get anything else for him or from him. It's a difficult one. Mateta is the other one from Crystal Palace that's also being talked about. What do you good people out there think? Do you think that Ollie Watkins is a good deal at in and around 60 million at the age of 29, turning 30? Would you prefer Mateta, who's 27? For me, I'd probably go for Mateta. He's a bit younger. He has played in that 3-4-3 system for Crystal Palace last year, and he did very, very well with it. He's a very good, proven Premier League striker. We don't have European football, so we don't have to worry about that. And Rasmus could potentially be good backup for him. I would probably prefer that deal if Ollie Watkins is coming in at 60 million. I think 60 million is too much. We also know that Crystal Palace have been demoted to the Conference League, so maybe that would waver Mateta's interest as well, because he probably wanted to play in the Europa League. And not only that, but he is down to the last year of his contract, so Crystal Palace are going to have to make a move and figure out whether they're going to sell him or whether they're going to bring him on to a new contract. So that's where we are with those particular stories. Now there was a couple of other little bits I wanted to bring in. Mason Mount, our number 7, which is highly disappointing. That number is on the back of his shirt, because this is what he was saying. It's not disappointing what he was saying, but he was saying Mount on Amorim. He's given me confidence from the first day. I know what he wants. And I feel like I understand how he wants the team to play. Having the manager trust me really helps me as a player. I just don't know where Mason Mount fits into this team anymore. And Mbeumo and Cunha are going to be the 10s. Maybe Mount will be a rotational player. But how can we have a rotational player wearing the number 7 jersey? I think that's absolutely scandalous. I think it's very disappointing. Mason Mount has not worked at Manchester United. Unfortunately, he's had some bad injuries, and he's come back from those injuries. He's picked up more injuries. He hasn't worked. It's not working. I'd prefer to move Mason Mount on if we could, but I don't think we can, because we overpaid for him, and Chelsea rinsed us, and they're looking to rinse us again for other players. Jackson, etc. So and Kunku, so yeah, I think Manchester United are going to have to just bite the bullet on this one. And yeah, I just, it's disappointing. He's the number 7 jersey. It's iconic, and it's just being squandered on a player who is going to be rotational at best. Okay, so there you go. Mason Mount is obviously happy with how Ruben Amorim is, saying to him, and he obviously wants to prove himself. But I just can't see him fitting into that midfield, and I can't see him fitting into those 10 roles. So yeah, I think Mason Mount is unfortunately going to have a tough season, and so is the number 7 jersey. But anyway, okay, so that's the news on that. The last couple of little bits. Luke Shaw, Mr. Luke Shaw, is ready to leave Manchester United if a suitable offer comes in, but he will also consider offers from Saudi if any of those clubs want him. Now, will those clubs want him? I don't know. Does Luke Shaw want to move away? Maybe. Has he been told that with the players that Manchester United are bringing in, Diego Leon, etc., that his future at the club is under attack? I think if I was Luke Shaw, I'd like to be looking at what my other options are. I'd like to get him off the wages. I think partially because he's on a big wage, and also because he has spent a lot of time on the treatment table. It would be beneficial to the club and Luke Shaw and maybe the country for England that Luke Shaw moves on and finds a new club. But I've got a feeling that this is kind of just paper talk. This is coming from the Sun, so it's not exactly the most reliable of sources. And I think Luke Shaw will once again see the season out and enjoy time on the treatment bench, which I hope he doesn't. I hope he manages to stay fit, because he's an excellent left back when he is fit. But our left-sided defender of 3. He does give us another option off the bench if he can stay fit. So let's see what happens on the Luke Shaw and Saudi Arabia. Maybe something will spark there unexpected and give us extra coffers in the old transfer budget to move forward and get someone different. Final story: Manchester United could move on in the loan market. So this is the other potential move on the striker situation, and that is looking at Mitrović, who could be a cheaper option. Now, I don't really know how Mitrović is going to be a cheaper option, because he's on big wages in Saudi, and we're not going to pay him those big wages. But maybe there's a way of doing a loan deal. Maybe we take up some of the wages, and there's no fee to pay, no additional fees to pay after we take him for that particular period of time. Maybe there is something we can do. But again, do you think that Mitrović will be a good fit for Manchester United? He's been out of the Premier League. He did well when he's at Fulham, but he's left and he's gone to Saudi. I'm not entirely sure how he's done. I've not really followed his career. But yeah, so that's all your news done and dusted. Thank you very much for joining me. As I said, if you're enjoying the content, thank you very much. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like on the old button. Subscribe to the channel. Get your thoughts in below. Talk about anything I've talked about. Luke Shaw, do you think he's going to go? Mitrović, would you like to see him? Garnacho, where do you think he's going to go? Antony, do you think he's actually going to disappear off to Saudi? Real Betis or Atletico Madrid? Get your comments in below. I'd love to hear from you. And once again, thanks for anyone who stuck around to the end. And thank you for everything that's been happening recently. The viewing figure's been going through the roof. And so the subscriptions, massively appreciated. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you tomorrow.